a.m., right? Okay. Who? No? All right. So I see you guys scrambling to try to find the sample test packets that are Regents-based. They should all be back there with your name on it. If you still need one, I've got some extras that have been filled in. I don't know if the answers are right or not. Use those. This is the week where you guys have Wednesday off for whatever ridiculous reason we decided to schedule it that way. Correct? Yes. So I definitely want to make sure that we finish up this 8th unit and have our test tomorrow. So, as is typical, the day before our test, we'll do sample questions. And what we'll do today is a combination of Regents questions. If you look up on the board, you see the layout of what would be 40 plus questions if we were just doing Regents. I basically reduced that to the ones that are circled in yellow. Can you make that out? Can you see that? Is that all visible?
So we're just doing the yellow?
So there are only 17 that are circled in yellow. And you're going to start with those. Once you get going on that, I'm going to give you a handout that has 10 more AP college level questions. And then after about 20 minutes or so, give or take a few, we'll do what we always do. We'll go over as many as we can get through. We'll start with the Regents. We should be able to get through the college. I deliberately set it up so there's less. So logistically, we should be able to make that happen, no problem. And then, yeah, the test tomorrow, because we've missed so much school, because we've had the 5 snow days, and the 4 snow days, and the 1 heater explosion day. You guys, it's kind of cold in here, wouldn't you say? All right. And then I took the 2 funeral days, and I missed Friday. So we're going to take tomorrow's test. It's going to be both. So we'll make it a combination Regents and college on the same test. All right. Now, as you get started with that, I want to give everybody the study guide for tomorrow's test. Some of you guys already have it, but I think most of you still need it. Are we just missing Grant? What's the matter, Luke?
I got 2.
Look into the camera and tell me that no one's putting their hands on you.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm right there.
There you go.
You can just see my eyes. It's a good video. No, really, it's on this one. You really go for
Does everybody have a big packet of sample Regents multiple choice questions? Whether it's yours or not. We had them all stored in a cabinet that was made of cardboard, and when we had our heater disaster, it just disintegrated. It kind of imploded.
So like all this steam coming out, right?
Yeah, and a lot of stuff got trashed.
When I was teaching at St. Anne's, and one of the heaters did that. And one side of the room was dripping wet, the other side was like freezing cold.
I lost all kinds of stuff, including like my grandfather's doctorate.
Oh my gosh.
Stained. I don't think that's salvageable. Yeah. Thanks a lot, CRCS. Okay, so everybody has a packet. Knock out these 17. I'm going to hand out the 10 college questions. Some of the Regents questions will be on tomorrow's test, certainly not all. And some of these college questions will be on tomorrow's test, certainly not all. So after you do the Regents ones, knock out these 10 college AP multiple choice questions. I do have a question about Friday in my absence. You were supposed to watch the video on Wilson.
Yeah, he's kind of gave
He
up.
just played the
Okay, yeah, he said that you, I told him it was on the end of that disc.
He wouldn't
wouldn't
change
know
it. He
till
said-
I came
Yeah,
in
no,
late. I don't
I
really know
raised
what's
my
going
hand and said they were supposed to be farther up, and he's like, no, we're just gonna watch this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who,
Yeah,
is it someone new? I don't even
I
recognize the
didn't even
name.
know
He
who
was
it
an
was.
angry elf.
Oh,
Yeah, he looked a little upset.
okay.
I just filled my bottle. He told me to wait a minute. I was like, all right, big boy, this is my class.
I literally came in late, and then I left.
So you didn't watch Wilson?
No.
We're watching Abraham.
Whatever we watched in psych.
Oh yeah.
Did you at least watch McKinley?
No.
Okay, so that
That's
was
like
utterly useless.
That psych video was weird. Talking about our father getting his daughter pregnant twice.
Oh,
You got that far in there?
Yeah, and then he used the clothes hanger both sign.
Yep.
This ain't sex, so dial it back. They don't have signed permission slips.
These fellows right here.
Oh, okay.
But you're not sick. I know you're gonna be
Yeah, I put it up.
I already have one.
The guy had to turn my paper, never turned it into the high road. He was sitting on his desk for 2 months.
Oh,
So I got it this week.
okay, did I do anything wrong? So you're good, okay. So, oh.
I have extras.
Alright, everybody have everything they need? Alright, so Ben, can you pause that and then we'll turn it on again in about 15, 20 minutes? Raw materials, closing of the western frontier, right? Continental land's all used up. Social Darwinism, this idea that like some people are just more developed than others. Missionary spirit, that you could have added not wanting to be left out of the scramble for Africa or spheres of in, exactly, all of those, clearly too, is the right answer. Reasons for US imperialism. 20, Adam.
The United States established the open door policy for China as a way to protect the United States' economic interests.
Right. The open door policy was about trading rights in China and not seeing that country gobbled up by everybody but us. So, as we're becoming a world power and we wanted trading rights in China, John Hay worked out that policy where no one country would dominate. We wanted a piece of that action. Okay. 21.
Why did the construction of the Panama Canal become more important to the United States after the Spanish American War? Or the Navy needed a faster way to move ships between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans?
Correct. You're becoming a world power. You're developing a naval presence. You're looking for way stations and naval bases and coaling stations and Pacific Islands and Caribbean Islands. And you've got to be able to move your fleet as needed. 4 is the right answer. And drop down to 24. Meg?
The major argument of the importance of the 1919 Treaty of Versailles was the treaty of the United States to
Which one? 1 is correct. Become involved in future international conflict. At the end of World War I, recall that a lot of Americans were disillusioned, demoralized. This was supposed to be the war to end all wars, but you're bickering again. If we join this international organization, does that mean we have to send troops to future wars? America, for the most part, as the war was winding down and the 20s were starting, we were retreating into isolationism. It's a pretty prevalent theme that shows up on other questions as well here. Jump ahead to page 16, number 20, Carl.
A major result of the Spanish-American War was that the United States assumed more power in the
Yeah, that's kind of like the coming out party. 1898, our victory in the Spanish-American War. We're not necessarily the world power at this point, but we're certainly a world power. And as such, we did want to assume a more prominent role in world affairs. 22. Hey.
President Theodore Roosevelt strengthened the Monroe Doctrine by establishing the policy that the United States would
Intervene, get involved, meddle, in Latin America to prevent European interference. So there's the Monroe Doctrine, which we did much earlier this year, Monroe, the United States, warns Europe to stay out of the Western Hemisphere, no more colonies. Theodore Roosevelt, the Roosevelt corollary, the big stick policy, almost 100 years later, 78 years later, basically expands upon that. We're the police power of the Western Hemisphere. We're still interested in making sure that European countries stay out, but that might involve becoming involved in domestic Latin American politics. That might require a show of force, the big stick. All right, so yes, 3 is the best answer. Page 27. Number 25. Rebecca.
In the clear and present danger principle stated by the Supreme Court in
Schenck.
Schenck versus United States to be effective for liberty, freedom of speech during wartime.
Do you say Schenck? When I was in college, Charles Schenk's grandson spoke to one of our political science classes, and he said that it's technically skank. But I always kind of stayed away from that pronunciation.
Frankenstein.
Right?
Yeah.
Skank sounds a little, yeah, so I've just always gone with Schenck. But I think technically it's skank, based on what he said. Anyway, 4 is the right answer. Limiting freedom of speech during wartime. No civil liberty, no civil right laid out in the first 10 amendments is absolute. There are restrictions. We spent a lot of time, obviously, on the Schenck case, and that's the right answer. Well done. 37. Page 37, number 20. Aaron. So this is the first question. It's kind of a repeat. Roosevelt corollary, the big stick policy. It's all about intervention in Latin America. Roosevelt basically starts that when it looks like the Dominican Republic isn't going to be able to repay loans to European banks and European countries dispatch warships to collect. Oh no. Oh no. The United States looks at that as a threat to our security. It's time to expand on or further clarify the Monroe Doctrine going back to the 1820s. And we're not just the parent in the Western Hemisphere. We are the police power. We are the most dominant nation. And we're going to interact with Latin America in ways that benefit us and protect our interests and like perhaps lead to profits for American banks and businesses. 24.
During World War I, what was President Woodrow Wilson's purpose in outlining the 14 points? 2, suggesting a peace plan to prevent future wars.
Okay. Let's make the Great War truly the war to end all wars. And let's base the peace treaty on Princeton political science professor Woodrow Wilson's ideas for a just and lasting peace. Did that happen?
No.
Did any of his 14 points make it into the treaty? A couple. But mostly England and France wanted to do what? Punish Germany. Page 46. Question number 23. Yeah.
Which small investment piece of our outline below?
So if you look at what's listed there, no government without consent of the governed. High cost of defending territories outside the U.S. In other words, an empire costs money. It's burdensome. It could drag us into wars. U.S. tradition of non-involvement. It's not listed there, but, oh, bad optics. We used to be a colony, and now we're going to be a mother country. Those are all what? Yep. Arguments opposing imperialism. There were a lot of prominent anti-imperialists and an anti-imperialist league in the United States after the Spanish-American War, even during. And they lost that argument for the most part. Page 48, question number 27. Rebecca.
The United States government published these World War I posters to encourage Americans to
Invest in the war effort. Buy Liberty bonds. This is going to be true in World War II as well. The first poster there, it's immigrants looking at the Statue of Liberty. Your duty. Buy U.S. government bonds. The second poster, a Lincoln quote from the Gettysburg Address. Powerful stuff. tied in with the Creel Commission, the Committee on Public Information, trying to unite a diverse population against a common enemy. 56, number 21, Justice.
The explosion in the U.S. Maine and the practice of yellow journalism played a significant role in the one public support for the Spanish American War.
Yep. Not to be confused with the sinking of the HMS Lusitania or the publication of the Zimmerman Note. Parallels between the two wars, but this one's clearly about the Spanish-American War. Good. Page 75. Question number 19. No.
Which has not related to the Spanish-American War as an example of yellow journalism or Spanish troops slaughtered in trees.
So if it's an example of yellow journalism, you're looking for what? Hyperbole, sensationalism, references like slaughter and innocent and treachery. Okay, so one, President McKinley asked Congress for war declaration against Spain. That's just a fact. That's straight up. No sensationalizing there. 2, same. U.S. mobilizes for war with Spain. Pretty cut and dry. 3, U.S. demands response to Spanish actions. We're getting closer, but 4, Spanish troops slaughter innocent Cuban citizens. Now you've crossed over into like tabloid journalism and yellow journalism. Page 83. Number 20. Sean?
In the 1890s, the main goal of those who supported the United States imperialism was to obtain overseas markets and naval bases.
Yeah, look at the other choices. Bring self-government to areas under U.S. control. Self-government wasn't given to the Philippines. Defend against attacks by enemy nations. Spain never attacked us directly, launching the Spanish-American War. Spread democracy to Africa and Latin America. We never took part, in the scramble for Africa. And democratizing Latin America, not really a priority. In fact, we supported a lot of dictatorships there as long as they were pro-U.S. All right. Page 84. Wait. Right. Page 84. Question 26.
What was the primary reason for many African Americans migrated to the North both during and after World War I?
More economic opportunities existed in the North. Where? Yeah, factories, manufacturing of munitions. There are a lot of push factors that compelled blacks to leave the South. Lynchings, Jim Crow, segregation. But you still needed a reason, a draw in the North. And that reason was factory jobs that had become available in part because of all the men fighting overseas. All right. 93, number 25. Cam?
Which action was the result of the other 3 to the United States entry into World War I?
Yeah, so 3 are causes, 1 is in effect. And Germany's policy of unrestricted submarine warfare, together with the interception of the Zimmerman Note, together with the fact that we had loaned billions to allied nations, more so than we had loaned to Germany, all led to U.S. entry into World War I. Correct. And last Regents question, Jake, number 26.
The vote by the United States Senate on the Treaty of Versailles demonstrated, 1, an unwillingness to join the League of Nations.
Right, and America's unwillingness to join the League reflected a retreat into isolation. So those are pretty straightforward, not too tough. Let's ratchet it up a notch here and look at some of the college AP questions. Gavin, number 1. I'll do the quote. We have pacified some thousands of the islanders and buried them, destroyed their fields, burned their villages, and turned their widows and orphans out of doors, subjugated them, the remaining 10 millions, by benevolent assimilation. And so, by these providences of God, and the phrase is the government's, not mine, we are a world power. Now, That doesn't sound like somebody who's supportive of what's going on in the Philippines as we made them our first colony. Well, there's the answer, but you have it?
The statement above was most probably made in reference to U.S. history policy and the annexation of Hawaiian Islands.
Not Hawaii.
Philippines.
It's the Philippines, yeah, the occupation of the Philippines. Now, if you look at the list here, the opening of Japan, that's much earlier, that's Matthew Perry. Did the United States annex Hawaii around this time? Yeah, ballpark time frame, but you're not talking about thousands and burned villages and widows and orphans. Puerto Rico and Cuba were acquired. Well, Cuba was not fully acquired, but that wasn't quite as violent. And confrontation with the Soviets over Cuba, that doesn't happen until the 1960s. So B and C are both tempting, but C is the better answer because of the descriptive nature of what he's saying. It's a hardcore invasion and occupation. Roman 2.
Which of the following led immediately and directly to Theodore Roosevelt's issuance of the Roosevelt Corollary to the Monroe Doctrine? E. America feared that financial instability in the Dominican Republic would lead to European intervention.
Right. If you look at the stuff listed there, I mean, Pancho Villa's armed raids into Texas and New Mexico, well, that was under Wilson. That sort of vexed Wilson's watchful waiting. General Sandino's insurrection against American troops in Nicaragua, I think that's in the 20s. We haven't even done that yet. The arrest of an unarmed party of American sailors in Mexico, that happened. That was also tied with the whole strained relations between the U.S. and Mexico. American concern that a Japanese syndicate or group would attempt to purchase land near the Panama Canal. I think that's like a 1990s thing. But E is the right answer. That was like the precipitating cause of Roosevelt issuing his corollary to the Monroe Doctrine or Big Stick policy. Dominican Republic couldn't pay European debts back, and Europe sent ships to collect. Not on our watch, not going to happen. Inconsistent with the Monroe Doctrine. 3.
Theodore Roosevelt's foreign policy in the Western Hemisphere is best characterized by his belief in American intervention in the affairs of nations when political stability was threatened.
Okay, so let's go right down the list. No, A, you might be right. B, the need to allow European nations to intervene in Latin America. No way, right? That's inconsistent with Monroe Doctrine. C, American recognition of the independent sovereign rights of each hemispheric nation. No, if we respected the sovereign rights of each hemispheric nation, we wouldn't invoke the Monroe Doctrine. Rejecting the Monroe Doctrine? Absolutely not. E, the right of Colombia to determine whether a Central American canal could be constructed in their colonial possession of Panama? No. No, Roosevelt encouraged the Panamanians to rebel. A is absolutely the right answer. Correct. Well done. Andrew, 4.
Which of the following has not been offered by historians as an explanation for the U.S. entry into the war with Spain in 1898?
So 4 of these are reasons why we went to war with Spain, and 1 isn't. It is, it's E. I'm sorry, it's E. Spain was blatantly interfering with our maritime rights? Not true. Spain never provoked us. We basically wanted to intervene on behalf of Cuba so we could liberate them. All right. So, I'll do the quote, Alyssa. In part because you're just very intimidating to look at right now. And almost menacing. Okay. 5. The power to conquer and create colonies is not among the express powers granted in the Constitution. Okay, that's debatable. The power our forefathers and their descendants loathed and abhorred, hated. This power. The power to conquer alien peoples and hold them in subjugation is nowhere implied as necessary for the accomplishment of the purposes declared by the Constitution. So clearly this is somebody who is not crazy about the idea of imperialism and foreign conquest. Take it.
Which statement concerning the quote above is true? I put C, the author is an anti-imperialist.
Yeah, that's an anti-imperialist quote if I ever read one. Connor, 6. I'm sorry, Ben, 6. Oops.
The principal foreign policy issue confronting the Wilson administration between the outbreak of the First World War in 1914 and the United States' involvement in the conflict in 1917 was C.
Freedom of the seas and the United States' rights as a neutral nation. So, 1914, war breaks out, we're neutral. Wilson runs for re-election in 1916. Hey, he kept us out of war. But then by 1917, we get drawn in. And it had a great deal to do with the sinking of the Lusitania and German unrestricted submarine warfare, which is basically what sea conveys. 7, Connor.
All the following were factors in the failure of the United States to join the Union of the First World War except the Soviet Union.
Yeah, Soviet Union doesn't join the League of Nations until the 1930s, and they actually get kicked out in 1939. 8, Jack, just what's the answer?
B, the federal government may restrict the expression of ideas that tend to place state security.
That's good. See you tomorrow. Test it. Ryan, can you turn it off?
Indeed.
Please.